What's up, Nerd Herd? It's Jared Wackerly here with DynastyNerds.com. Today, we are going to talk about the 2020 fantasy football darling, RB4 on the season, James Robinson. What do we do with him now that the fantasy football season is over and we're into the off season? Do we buy? Are we selling? Are we holding? Let's get into the video and talk about it. So, Nerd Herd, hope you guys won your fantasy football championships. Hopefully the information we provide you guys here on the channel and at DynastyNerds.com helped you do so. So let's talk about James Robinson, fantasy football darling, 2020, MVP maybe based on the expectations coming into the season. Nobody was talking about this guy, so if you had him, congrats. You probably were in the playoffs. Maybe you won your league. Congratulations. But what do we do with them now, right? If we don't have them, are we buying them? If we do have them, are we selling? Are we holding? What do we do? It's a pretty polarizing topic across Reddit, Twitter, everywhere you look. What do you do with James Robinson? So let's talk about it because it's definitely it's something that we need to discuss. So first, let's talk about the situation coming into the year. It's a year COVID, obviously. Undrafted guy, didn't get picked up by a team. Jacksonville picks up the phone, gives him a call. Next thing you know, they sign him to an undrafted deal, and he's on the squad. He comes into camp, obviously they like him. Cut bait with Leonard Fournette late August 31st. He lands in Tampa Bay. Who's the guy in Jacksonville? If you sold high on Raquel Armstead, good job. He didn't do anything. He was on the COVID list all year. Divino Zigbo, he's a Jag. James Robinson takes the reins, becomes RB4 on the year, and dominates. He's great this year. Came out of nowhere. No one expected it. I don't think we even had a nerd score for him. Maybe we did. If we did, it was Garrett. Good job, Garrett. I know that he actually kind of did like James Robinson through his process. But FCS guy, came from Illinois State, didn't even play in the FBS, so off people's radars completely. So what do we do with a guy like this that has no draft capital invested into him, right? So this team is most likely going to be changing their coaching staff. They already fired their GM, so you got to think about that being a huge factor in his value going forward. The team philosophy's going to change. You would think the efficiency of the offense is going to increase with them probably taking Trevor Lawrence first overall. But, new regime comes in. They got nothing invested into James Robinson. Sure, he's a good player, but, he's not Dalvin Cook, Nick Chubb, Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara type player. He's not that top echelon athlete. That's why he is from the FCS. Goes undrafted. He's a solid running back, right? I'm not trying to take anything away from him. I'm just saying a new regime with a new philosophy, once their guys coming in, draft their quarterback, it just leaves a lot of risk there for you holding on to an asset like that. And I think right now would be a good time to sell James Robinson after he finishes as the RB4, like we said. Fantasy football MVP maybe. A lot of people talking about him. A lot of people like him. A lot of people don't. A lot of people are kind of saying what I'm saying. You're like, hey, it's solid, sound process as a Dynasty fantasy football manager to sell somebody like this, to sell somebody that comes out of nowhere, a guy we weren't expecting. Sure, he's a good football player. He is. He's solid. But you got to think about what the team and the organization has invested in if he's a replaceable type talent, which I think he is. So undrafted free agents, right? They have a different contract. They're on a 3-year deal. And after the second year, 2021 season, he has the right to try and renegotiate his deal. So does a guy like that, let's say next year, he has a nice season again, finishes as an RB2. Obviously, that's good numbers in the NFL. Probably wants to renegotiate his deal, right? He's on an undrafted deal. He's not even making $1 million a year. His agent's saying, hey, we need to renegotiate here. We aren't getting paid accordingly. So, that's a long ways out from now, but it's something to consider. So personally, I think it's time we sell James Robinson. It may not work out, right? He may have another strong season next year. But let's take a look at the efficiency metrics and some of the stats from this past season. So, James Robinson was 4th in the NFL in rushing attempts. 4th. And that's behind Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook, and Josh Jacobs. And that's on a team that was playing from behind a lot. So, team philosophy is most likely going to be changing and stuff. So, who knows if that holds true. The offense should be getting better. Hopefully not playing from behind as often. That could stay the same. Could go down. Depends who they bring in. And they haven't fired the staff yet, but I'm just assuming they will, based on reports. So, efficiency, opportunity share. This is by fantasydata.com. He was number 1 out of all running backs in opportunity share for his team. What is opportunity share? Opportunity share is the total running back attempts and targets from the running back position within his team, and he led all of the NFL with 85%. So, I mean, the next highest guy is Joe Mixon at 81%. So, I mean, you got to assume that's going to regress back a little bit, right? They bring in maybe somebody to help spell him, someone to take a little bit of that share away from him, and he also led all running backs in snap share percentage in the NFL. So you would think that that's probably going to regress a little bit too. So based on that, based on expected regression, expectations of a new team, philosophy, offensive philosophy coming in, sure, solid player, might miss the boat here, but I don't think it's bad process at all to go ahead and sell an asset like James Robinson that you probably either got from the waiver wire or you bought him during the season. But I don't think it's a bad process at all to sell now. Like I said, I'm not buying. There's too much risk involved based on everything that I just laid out here in this video. I'm not opposed to holding on either. If you need a running back, you absolutely need James Robinson next year for your team. That's fine. But if I have James Robinson and I'm able to sell, I'm doing it 10 times out of 10. If you do decide to sell, I want nothing more than 2 first-round picks. If you can't get 2 first-round picks, hold on to them. Do not buy. Too much risk involved. Either hold or you're selling. So that's all I got for you guys. Like I said, hopefully you guys won your fantasy football championships. We got a lot of content coming for you here in 2021 as we get into these rookies. We get into draft season, and this is when the fun begins. So if you're new to the channel, please consider hitting subscribe. Comment down below what you think. Are you selling? Are you buying? Are you holding? What are your thoughts? If you have a counter argument, I'd love to hear it. I'm open to all angles of this discussion. If you haven't yet, hit the little bell icon. It lets you get notified when we post a new video. But until then, I'm signing off. See you, Nerd Herd.